The actual design concept of the shoe, it's amazing. So a nice, beautiful looking upper, booty design, PEBA foam, a plate, beautiful geometry. This shoe should work, but so just a couple runs done and dusted in this shoe. Now this is the Brooks Hyperion Max 3, and these are my first impressions. But before we get into it, a big shout out to my #1 running store, the Running Company at Geelong. I've got a link to their website in the description. Make sure you go check out that and check out all their running gear. And also guys, if you want to support the channel and you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And with the spec, so this one is a neutral super trainer, and you're going to be able to pick it up in Australia for $320 or $200 in the US. Now in the weight, pretty hefty weight here. So we've got 283 grams or 10 ounces. Now that's in my size. This is a US 8.5. And in the stack, massive stack, 46 in the rear, 40 in the front, and that's going to give us a 6mm drop. And in the upper, so the material that they're using here is what they call a quick knit. Now, the material itself, apart from these meshed areas that are throughout the toe box and the sides of the shoe, it actually feels like a really rigid canvas. So I think it's a really strange decision to use that material on such a shoe that's obviously meant for, or it's designed for what it is. But in these meshed areas, it really is amazing. Breathability is excellent. But in the unmeshed areas, yeah, for me, it's just too thick. Just a really strange decision. Really solid heel counter at the back here. Probably a medium to a plush amount of padding inside that heel collar there, and a nice little design concept going on here. So our heel collar at the top here, we've got the pull tab here in the back, but it's sort of all entwined into this stretch knit tongue. So a bit of a booty design here, pull that apart, squeeze your foot in like so. Now this stretch knit tongue has also got one big nice plush piece of padding that runs up and down the foot there. It takes all the laces pressure off, but it does, when your foot's not in it, it does bunch up quite a bit like mine is doing there, but it certainly flattens out once you put your foot in the shoe. Another excellent feature about the design of the upper is just they've got these internal, elastic internal heel straps as well that just help just lock that midfoot down on top of this shoe. So I really like that. With the lacing system, reinforced eyelets down either side with some little lace loops down the bottom, but barely have to use them because the booty knit tongue, the midfoot strap is actually just so good. No heel slippage at the back. In the length, true to size in the length, the width is about normal as well, and a good amount of toe box volume. So pretty nice fitting shoe here. Build quality, I must say, is absolutely excellent. And stepping comfort, there's a little bit of wow factor with this one as well. And in the outsole, so we've got a segmented coverage of their road tack rubber. Now the actual rubber on the bottom here is those green segments, as you can see there, and it's actually quite thick. So a lot of it there building up the durability for the bottom of the shoe, but the rubber itself, it's quite soft and tacky. So quite like that. I haven't had a chance to test this one out in the wet yet, but I'm going to say by the amount of rubber coverage on the bottom, I'm going to say the durability is going to be pretty good as well. Other little features here on the bottom of the shoe. So we've got this big cutout there under the arch, which I haven't really felt on the run. Haven't really felt it being unstable, but I'll go into that in the ride. And the rest of it is just exposed foam and that exposed, what's it called? The speed vault plate on the bottom there as well. And in the midsole, so these were the upgrades that I was most excited about in the shoe. So dual density foam, so two types of foam. We've got a top layer of our DNA Gold foam. So that is their 100% PEBA foam that they use in their race day shoes. So that is our top layer. It's quite thin in the rear of the shoe, but you do get a big lather of it, especially under the midfoot and under the forefoot there. And then underneath our PEBA foam, so our DNA Gold, we've got that speed vault plate, which I covered before. It's like a plastic plate. Gives this shoe some real rigidity, and this one is a super stiff shoe. So there is a little bit of flex there under the toe, but overall, yeah, this thing is as solid as a rock. Now, bottom layer of foam, they are using their DNA Flash V2. Now, this DNA Flash V2 has the bottom layer here. Lots of it in the heel, a little bit there in the forefoot, but I'm going to say it feels different to the, it must be a different formulation to the DNA Flash that they've used in other shoes. So, interesting, which I'll go on to in the ride later, but Another great addition to this shoe is the geometry of what's going on here. So they've gone all out in the geometry department. So we've got a early stage and really aggressive forefoot rocker. It kind of reminds me of the geometry that they use in the Hoka Cielo X1 2.0. So a little bit like that with our really early aggressive rocker. And we've got a bit of a rear foot rocker there as well. And in the ride, well, the first word that is coming to mind here is efficient. So nice clean ride, and I think it's primarily to do with the geometry, because for the foam and the midsole setup with these foams and the plate, to be honest, I think I was expecting more, because I wasn't getting much bounce out of the PEBA, much excitement. Yes, I was getting a little bit of softness, a little bit of squish, and a little bit of bounce, but honestly, I was expecting way more of what, when you look at this midsole and what this ride promises, yeah, I was expecting much more. However, I wasn't too disappointed, because there is a little bit of softness there, there is a little bit of squish there, but it's just not what you expect, especially with the big slab of this DNA PEBA foam. I just wasn't digging into it enough. I'm not getting enough out of it. But saying that, the geometry, I think, saves the shoe for me so far. So, as I said, smooth, clean, efficient ride. Gets nice and responsive off tile as well when you want to pick up the pace a little bit. However, the overall feeling of the shoe for me, it feels bottom heavy. So it doesn't feel like an overly fast, snappy and responsive speed shoe. For me, it's a bit more of a cruiser with some really nice geometry that you can get up and going a little bit up to that tempo pace if you want. Now, my runs in this shoe so far were just 1 hour easy, which I totally enjoyed the shoe. So nice amount of bounce, nice amount of pop on that one. And then I took it out for a 33-kilometer long run. So about 2 hours and 40 minutes with that one. And I'm going to say for the first 2 hours and 15 minutes, this shoe felt really nice, very clean. And then, but for the last part of it, the firmness or the lack of softness that I felt in the shoe really started to come and bite me. So the shoe started to feel a bit stingy. I don't know if you've had that feeling before when a shoe's just a little bit, just not soft enough for you, you're not conditioned enough for it. And yeah, each step just starts to sting at the bottom. So it was a long run though, that was all on a hard surface. So, and it also may be down to the fact that the shoe's not properly broken in yet. But overall, yeah, not overly soft, not overly bouncy. The cushion is just so dense and so thick. It's bottom heavy, but it's a clean, efficient ride. But honestly, yeah, I was just expecting a little bit more out of it. And what I also will mention, that it can get a little unstable, especially if you're running on some uneven surfaces. So some footpaths that I was running on that weren't straight, and they had a bit of a crack, or they were on a lean, so it did get a bit wobbly on some of those areas. So that's just another thing to be wary about with this shoe. So what I'm liking in this shoe so far, certainly number one, the geometry. It really does remind me of that Hoka Cielo X1 2.0. For me, it's the training version of that shoe. And I also love the breathability that this upper provides. And I also think this shoe looks amazing. And what I'm still figuring out in the shoe is certainly just the weight distribution in the shoe. It doesn't really feel like a well-balanced shoe. As I mentioned before, it does feel a little bit too bottom heavy. And also just the combo of these foams. So DNA Gold and this Flash 2, I'm just not sure if they actually work well together, because on their own they feel quite nice, but I think in this combo, yeah, there's something just not quite right about it. And dislike, certainly the price point, $320, way too much money for a training shoe for me. And also just the choice of materials used in the shoe, especially the upper. So yes, it's breathable, but the rest of the shoe, this really thick, robust canvas, it just feels overbuilt and unnecessary. And just wrapping up my first impressions here, so there are some great things about this shoe, and certainly some not so great things that have me scratching my head. And that's mainly got to do with the choice of materials that they use in the shoe, because the actual design concept of the shoe, it's amazing. So a nice, beautiful looking upper, booty design, PEBA foam, a plate, beautiful geometry. This shoe should work, but the choice of materials just don't work in the shoe. They make the shoe feel too heavy, unbalanced. And I don't know what's going on with this PEBA foam. So this DNA Gold, because it doesn't, if I just run in the shoe, I didn't know it was a PEBA foam in the shoe at all, I wouldn't even pick it up because I'm getting no sensation of any PEBA type feedback in the ride. It's just really dense. It's a really dense ride. Like, I can't describe it. It's like a feedback that I haven't felt before. Closest thing for me is like the Prime X, Adidas Prime X, maybe version 2. But yeah, just this really dense bit of foam, and I'm not too sure if these two foams work together. At this early stage, the shoe may break in a little while and it may soften up over time, but overall, yeah, it's so close, but they've just used the wrong materials, I think, in the shoe. But anyway, guys, that's it from me. Still lots of testing to go. I'm still going to persist with this one because I do enjoy that efficient, clean ride. And yeah, any questions regarding this shoe, just hit me up in the comments. Thanks for watching. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.